How about certification?
You have to unlearn a lot of things.
But how is it different in FP&A?
Give me all the possible uses of a brick.
If you have to give an interview,
If you analyze the data more,
if the person is the right fit for your team,
the business does not remain the same.
how does FP&A compare to audit?
That they should be mentally agile.
Hey, hi Ammar, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today for this book project. Before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? So, for our listeners and viewers, if you can walk us through your experience and background before we get into the questions.
Sure. So basically, I started my professional career around I think it's been 14 years almost now. So I started my career from PwC as a chartered accountant. I started from there in assurance audit and insurance department. I'm sort of a nester, so I like to spend time at places, get to understand the feel and everything. So I actually spent like 5.5, almost 6 years at PwC, mostly in the auditing department, and then I moved to basically a bank, a fintech, actually, a mobile wallet organization back in 2017. Started my journey here in FP&A. From reporting, budgeting, planning, moved up from there, and basically I'm still here. It's one of the largest fintechs of the country, basically. So then it started from a startup. Basically, at that time they were less than a million app users. Now we are above 10 million. So I'm heading the FP&A department here as an executive director. I have a team of around 17 resources, senior resources here. On the side, I have done some consultancy work for being giving fraction CFO services to different startups, helped make pitch decks for investors, for pitching to the investors on different earned wages, organization, and everything. So that's on the side, but my current main organization is basically still in the FP&A domain in in fintech industry.
Got it. Got it. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now you mentioned that you moved from an audit role at PwC to a fintech bank role about 6 years back, 6, 7 years back. So how was the transition? Were there any particular aspects of the transition that you found difficult or uncomfortable that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think when you move from an audit and assurance department, which is very basically rules driven and everything, and FP&A is very fluid. Basically, it's more instinctual. So it's more the skills are majority of the skills are the same. It's the mentality that is different, how you approach things. So that you definitely have to learn, and actually not learn. Actually, you have to unlearn a lot of things. You have to learn to not get stuck on minor details. Think of it, think in the form of impact, basically, because FP&A is all about decision making. Audit and accounting rules are more about compliance related, basically. There are strict rules that you have to follow them. FP&A is fluid. You can bend the rules, sort of. So it was more about changing the mindset from accounting to FP&A. So that was the main challenge that I think everyone faces when they move to FP&A from more law-based department.
I think you mentioned a couple of things which I can summarize. Which one was the mindset shift, that more of a analysis kind of a mindset which is required, and the other thing also you mentioned was the unlearning part. So you need to be able to understand that you will have to keep aside some of the things that you've learned, because those will have its place. It will be useful in FP&A, but then you also need to make sure that you understand the bigger picture when you're working in FP&A. So thank you for that. Any you mentioned that the skills are more or less similar. So any particular skills that have helped you from your audit background, and now also you feel that okay, those skills are something that have helped me in my role at FP&A in FP&A?
Excel skills. I think data universal. That are universally useful everywhere. The faster, the better you are there. It helps you out. Also basic accountancy skills. Like obviously, it is in the finance domain. So the basic from being a chartered accountant, you get to have that knowledge of accountancy as well as finance. So that actually the basic of what you call the foundations. You use them. Maybe not very complex accounting concepts are that useful, but the basic accounting concepts are very useful because that is the main domain that you work in. So that is basically the stadium that you are playing in. So you have to know that area where you are. You know how to have how to make financial because you have to have grip on the financial statements, how financial statements are being made, and what are the trigger points, what impacts what, like if you change one thing on P&L, how it will impact the cash flow. So that kind of things you have to know.
I think one of the skills people underestimate is their accounting knowledge and the accounting
Yeah.
background, which is so much. I mean, because they don't realize they already are expert in that, and then they don't realize they have such a superpower. So that is something that I agree on completely, and also Excel. In audit, also you use basic Excel, but how is it different in FP&A? Is it just more techniques or more formulas, different formulas, or is it more or less the same? The Excel skills that you use.
No, I think it's a bit more different, a little enhanced, not too enhanced that you do not need to know like VBA that much or anything like that. But you need to know how to at least do basic financial modeling through some of advanced Excel formulas, and also because a lot of FP&A tasks do require that you at least automate them. In audit and accounting, maybe you do not need to do automation as much, but in FP&A you need to automate a lot of tasks. So because when you do analysis, you do not want to get stuck at that place where you begin every time. You have to cut that time. Otherwise, you cannot do analysis if you keep on aligning the data.
You should not be spending more time on preparing
The
versus
data, yeah, analyzing.
that's where automation comes and it becomes important that you reduce that preparation and report creation time and then focus more on
Yeah.
analysis. So thank you for that. And how about certifications? So do you think any certifications are useful for this transition? Any one you've done and which will help you, or any certification that you would recommend for somebody who's starting?
Obviously, accounting is. I have hired people with an accounting background. I have hired people with like business administration background and PAs and cost management. So there is a clear difference. You that certification, obviously, we are chartered accountants. It's not that we are biased, but that actually does help grasp some of the concepts. But it actually sets you apart from people there because you have more in-depth understanding of that. So that would also help. But I don't think you obviously that because of how the world is going toward knowledge economy and how bigger the data sets are going. If you have any certifications or skills or whatever, a minor course or anything which helps you uh, be a better data scientist or something, uh, maybe Microsoft Access, because that is good database tool that you can use easily. You don't need to have a huge understanding of it. So that can help you out. Basically, any certification that help you analyze the data more, that will help you out. You can do it on the side. But your main, if you the main certification, the main skills you have, you go for accountancy skills. That would help you more.
Understood. So if you have done graduation in accounting or if you've done your CA, then probably that is taken care of. But if you are coming from a non-accounting background, then
Yeah.
getting accounting certification is a good and a
Yeah,
must.
that's a good bargain. That's where you should spend. That will give you more for these words going forward. that, because that is a basic skill. So you can have all the bells and whistles, but if you lack that basic skill to be in finance, that will hurt you and also make you excel if you are good at it.
And also, once that is taken care of, data
Then
analysis and data presentation, data visualization are some skills
that's
that,
icing on the cake. Yeah,
that will help.
that is basically makes you do your work easier, makes you sets you apart from the other people in your own in your department. So it makes you work better efficiently and everything.
Makes sense. All right, now we move to the second part of the discussion, which is more on the interview preparation and how do you face interviews? What are the processes that we should follow to prepare? And also we'll talk about some questions. So uh, let's start with if you have to give an interview, say for FP&A role, or if you have to advise somebody who's preparing for an interview, what would you tell them? What is your process like if you have to prepare for an interview?
Obviously, what I can say is that when I take interviews, like when problem is that I gave FP&A interview when I came into this, and I came in as an assistant manager. So at that time, I also don't expect that many skills. FP&A skills from a person, because it's like a bit unfair. If I'm hiring a junior level resource, I don't have expect them to have great FP&A skills. But what I expect them to be have good, to be agile on their mentality basically.
Mhm.
So that's what I focus on when I hire at a junior resource level, that they should be mentally agile, because they should be able to think on their feet.
Mhm.
Technical skills, if they have the basic ones, advanced skills, I can teach them. We can get them trainings or anything. But mental agility, you cannot teach. And for the senior role, if I'm doing, so I try to focus on those advanced skills. Try to see if they have any experience doing complex information. And also, FP&A is it's very extrovert, basically, kind of field. There are a lot of stakeholders. There's a lot of interaction with the business, other people, because a lot of analysis you have to do. You have to get basic understanding first, and that comes with talking to people. So that is also very important to see if they have good stakeholder management. You need to basically defend your analysis, so you should be able to be a little bit uh, headstrong, and like you should be able to hold your own against maybe board of directors, CEOs, and those C-suite individuals.
No,
So that
yeah, I can relate. So it's so first you mentioned about the junior role. So there you don't expect much, but you expect them to be open to learning and
yeah,
adaptable, so that you can impart them the skills that are required. And for senior roles, it's more on understanding of the business and being able to communicate their analysis. So they should be somebody who should be able to face senior people in the
yeah,
company.
and also like if they can demonstrate something from their experience that shows them to be in a more expert, more controlling role. Basically, if they solve a big problem, that is a good thing. If even if I'm hiring someone straight from a firm who was a manager in the firm, I do ask them different scenarios. What was the problem this week? Because a lot of accountants and that they get stuck in identifying the problem, but
Yeah,
they get lost when solving the problem.
yeah.
So uh, first is
Mhm.
I actually because of the mentality, I asked them what was the problem that you identified, and then they gave you a problem, and then I asked them to okay, give three ways to solve it. One way they do give, because that's what they are for. But every problem has a few more ways to solve them. They might not be good, but there's still ways. So that shows a little bit of their creative thinking.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Then any so this probably brings me to the next question, which you covered some bit of it. So, are there any particular questions that you ask apart from this one, which is on a problem identification and different ways to solve it? Are there any particular questions that you would ask in an interview, maybe two or three, just to gauge if the person is the right fit for your team and has the right skills?
Yeah, I actually have like few basic questions. That one, I do ask at all levels. I do give scenario analysis to that, basically, but I give them a little scenario of how to deal with it. And then when they answer, I just put one branch in it. Basically, okay, this went wrong. Maybe if I'm answering to a stakeholder, they have to get some data, XYZ data from them, and then say, okay, I will approach it this way, and then I just put a budget, maybe it's on leaves, what will you do? So I actually I keep distorting the scenario and see how far their brain works. They keep talking. I'm not looking for a good answer. I'm just like their brain is working. They're coming up with things to do. So if they go to three levels, three levels, that's fine. That is like okay. So this question I always ask to just check the mental agility. On accounting things, basically it depends upon which domain. If I'm asking about the technical skills, depends upon which domain I'm hiring. So it's not one question. But this scenario analysis, and also one of the questions I like to ask is that's a test. I don't know which book I read it in, but you give something like, okay, give me all the possible uses of a brick. So like that's I think I read it in Jordan Peterson's book or something like I don't remember, but that's how some people just approach it. Okay, you build houses with it, you put it on the table, you break rooms with it, and some of them are very creative. Like you put a roof on it and use it as an anchor, or you could like take somebody's head. Well, it shows creativity because it says a little out of the box department.
So first one was on the scenario, give them a scenario and try
Yeah.
to see how they think logically.
Yeah.
The second one is more on testing the creative aspects, like the example you mentioned.
They're problem solving. First one is more problem solving, and second is more about creative thinking. Yeah.
Awesome. One other concern people have when they move from audit roles to FP&A is they want to know, okay, I mean, some people who are wanting to do the shift is because they don't find audit as interesting as they would have found it earlier when they had started. Maybe after 2 3 years, they found it to be something that they cannot do it for say next 10 years. That's why they are moving. So a question these set of people usually ask is how does FP&A compare to audit in terms of monotonity and in terms of is it as dry because they are working in that for 3 4 years now and then they are looking for a new role in FP&A and they want to understand, okay, I'm finding audit a bit monotonous, bit dry. Is FP&A going to be similar after 2 3 years or is it going to different? So how do you now, because you've seen both the sides, what would be your point of view?
Yeah, that's completely because actually I after 5.5 6 years I did ran away from the firm. That is because basically
Me too. Me too. I think I did not more than 3 years. So after 3 years,
yeah, it was like every year is the same. Basically, the people who like it call it consistency. We call it monotonous, being like doing the same thing over and over. Every engagement you get after 10, 15, it's all the same. There's this, X, Y, Z, and A, B, C, D, and that was it. Some people like it, some people like the routine. I did it for a very so I was lucky to actually go into exact opposite of what audit is. Even in accountancy, audit is sort of like exact opposite, if you can call it. It's been like seventh year here, and no year has been the same. Every year there have been different challenges, different regulatory challenges, different accounting challenges, different business challenges, because obviously business does not remain the same. Actually depends upon which type of organization you also go in, because I went to basically a tech startup type business, so every year was very different. Maybe it will not be different for most, I believe, but it will still be different than audit, definitely. And much more fun if you like a little bit of chaos, a little bit of excitement, then you will enjoy it. As I will say that FP&A is the most creative and most out of the box you can be while in finance. The most out of the box you can be is if you are in FP&A and in finance.
I agree with that. So it's like if you don't like the routine checklist, you know, like just following the rules and
Yeah.
doing the books and doing the audit. vouching verification, report preparation.
Yeah.
If you enjoy that, then probably accounting audit is the place that you should be doing. I mean, you should be there. And
People
after
do
a
enjoy.
while, no, go ahead.
No, no, I'm saying people do enjoy that,
Yes, yes,
the
yes.
routine, knowing what is expected of them. But yeah,
And after certain point of say after you become a manager in audit or accounting, then you get similar sort of a flavor. In audit, I know you become more business focused, getting
yeah,
clients. And in accountancy also you would probably become a controller where you would be managing a bigger team. So after a while, say I think 5 7 years, things change, but not in the early 2 3 years where
yeah.
you feel that. So I can relate to that. Thanks. Uh, I think we are almost at the end of our conversation. Any last thoughts, any last comment before we wrap up? Also, if you can let our listeners, viewers who are watching this, listening to this, how do they reach out to you? Just in case if they want to reach out to you, have any questions, what would be the best way to reach out to you? Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure this conversation will go at a couple of places and it will help a lot of people. So thank you again, and thank you for your time, Amar. Thank you.
Thank you, Asif. Thank you for having me.